Philippe Lazzarini, we thank you for being here in person to receive the award on behalf of UNRWA, on behalf of the incredibly brave staff who are working tirelessly under impossible conditions. I want to pick up on something that the film actually said, that Palestinians deserve not just aid, they deserve a political solution. I've been going in and out of Gaza for 15 years. And it seems that the cycle of conflict has always had a temporary plaster applied to the Palestinian suffering. You've come out of Gaza, you've been in twice since October the 7th. You wrote that what you witnessed was some of the saddest of your career. And you've had an extensive career covering conflict and post-conflict. Is this the worst that you've seen?
By any description, it's definitely the worst situation I have ever seen. And by any account, if you look at, as the Secretary General said, the number of people who have been killed in only 2 months, if you look at the massive displacement, 90% of the population has been moved, in which context do we see this? It's also a context in which the UN is pushed to its limit. We have more than 1 million people living in overcrowded shelter under the UN flag. People are coming to seek protection, and even the protection of the blue flag is not anymore in protection in Gaza. So by any account, this situation is of a catastrophic nature in the region.
Actually, I wanted to pick up on that. You've had 134 staff in the last 24 hours. I understand that's been updated by one more death of your staff. Our condolences. 134 UNRWA staff killed. Over 120 UNRWA facilities targeted by Israel, despite the fact that the United Nations gives the coordinates of your facilities to Israel. We've had the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, sound the alarm on the world that this is something that needs to be stopped. We've had discussions in the UN Security Council, the United States using its veto, deeming that a ceasefire is not necessary. The tools that we have been given through the United Nations to stop the suffering, and you recently also quoted, I think you said, to prevent the descent into hell. How does this make you feel, that somehow it's failing?
You heard the Secretary General. We are not giving up. We will continue to seek for a ceasefire. There is no doubt that a humanitarian ceasefire is needed if we want to put an end to hell on earth right now in Gaza.
I think it's also very important to ask about the next day. I've been talking to our colleagues in Gaza. One of my colleagues was saying, I don't know the state of my home in Gaza City. I have no idea. And he is one voice out of hundreds of thousands. And he said to me, Stephanie, of course we want a ceasefire, but when that comes, hell is not over. He said the amount of destruction that is in Gaza, you don't even get a sense through the television. He said it is inexplicable. They have families, they have 5, 6, 7, 8 children, they have big families in Gaza. How are you, because you are the representative and the agency that is going to have to be at the forefront of trying to help over 2 million people. Can you prepare? How are you preparing?
I think the day after will depend on how we respond to the current situation. No one really knows how it will evolve. When I went to Gaza 2 weeks ago, I visited one of the overcrowded shelters. I was completely struck by the misery and the distress of the people, but also their living condition, the feeling that they have been stripped from their dignity. I met a man who burst into tears, telling me that they are living in 4 square meters with their 5 children, sleeping on the floor, no mattress, no blanket, using their shoes as a pillow, struggling to get everyday water, and basically say, I feel humiliated, we feel psychologically broke. And this is the kind of condition our staff are also sharing. And this is also one of the reasons why I addressed the President of the General Assembly, telling him that we as UNRWA, we are on the edge of collapse. And if we collapse, it's the entire humanitarian platform which might collapse in Gaza. And would this be the case, it would also be felt as an ultimate betrayal from felt by the Palestinians from the international community. They would feel completely abandoned, and that would also have a political repercussion and would have a repercussion on the so-called day after. Now, when we talk about the staff, and here I'm very grateful of the award of the Doha Forum that we have received today, and it's a tribute to our staff, it's a tribute to our foreign colleagues also, and to their families. But they share exactly the same day-to-day life than the people we are trying to help. Our staff today, they come to work with their children because they don't know if they will see their children at the end of the day, or they say, if we have to die, we prefer to die together. I asked a staff 2 weeks ago, how do you do to operate? You look so composed, and we are still asking people to do the impossible in an impossible situation. And he say, I am not. I'm just looking at a corner in the building and go to cry 10 times a day. People are psychologically broke today. And I have also to say, we keep talking about asking the people to go back to their places of origin. But where to go back? Everything has been destroyed. And most of the people I'm meeting there, they say, I don't see my future anymore in Gaza. I have enough. My children have known only war, only conflict. If you are 20 years old in Gaza, you have known 5 or 6 cycles of violence in addition of the blockade. But this one, by any account, has been the most devastating one.
It is unprecedented, and I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen next. You touched there. Do you think the world is guilty of a dehumanization of the Palestinians? I know in my reporting at some point, I felt like I had to highlight Abu Ayman, who is Gaza's best-known lifeguard, and parents who bring their children to learn to swim. We did a story on the beautiful strawberry farms of Beit Lahia in the north, and they are the sweetest strawberries I have ever tasted. And we had such a response because people didn't understand this view of Gaza, that you had people with hopes and dreams, children who wanted to be doctors, who wanted to travel. Do you feel like we have failed the Palestinians and that the world has become used to the fact that simply 5 are killed in the occupied West Bank a day, tomorrow it's 2, then it's 10, then Gaza, it's the usual? Are we guilty? Are we all collectively guilty of this?
We definitely have failed the Palestinians so far. And the dehumanization dimension is a worrying trend, because this has made the unbearable bearable for the international community, has made the unbearable we see continuously on the news bearable again. Now, talking about dehumanization, and I saw the first video. The first video was talking about empathy. The problem is that the empathy in the region is still selective. It's either an empathy with Israeli or an empathy with the Palestinian, but there is no joint and mutual empathy. And I have seen this over the last 30 years, how this dehumanization process has taken shape. When I went to Gaza at the beginning of the 90s, it was the first intifada. At that time, in every household, there was a member of the family speaking Hebrew, and vice versa. The Israeli was speaking in Arabic, and they knew each other despite the violence of the first intifada. You go back 30 years later, there is absolutely no young Palestinian below the age of 20 or 30 who knows how an Israeli look like, or an Israeli how a Palestinian look like. We have completely separated the two people, and hence also this lack of mutual understanding, mutual empathy. And if you do not know your neighbors, this will also have an impact in the future when we talk about promoting peace and security and cohabitation between the people.
I think in the opening film of the forum, it said that the cries of their children should be heard as our own. Very quickly, we're running out of time. I want to ask you, we're sitting in a room with leaders of very powerful countries, of representatives of very powerful countries that have the ability, through political pressure, through many means, to try and start the dialogue again of coming to some kind of a political solution. What is your message to them?
We have to put an end to this madness, to this darkness. On Friday, the Security Council failed to agree on the ceasefire. We heard from the Secretary General, we will not give up. Meanwhile, what we need is scaling up a meaningful humanitarian assistance, an environment allowing us to reach the people. But as we heard also this morning, we need one international humanitarian law to be respected the same way by all the parties. It cannot just be interpreted the way we want.
Commissioner General Philippe Lazzarini, thank you so much.
Thank you.